Hi, welcome to a TFT rank game as I bounce between Hyperroll and Ranked as the season comes to a close. And this time I picked up an Udyr with a recursive bow in what will be likely my final post of a Skirmisher-based build, because Skirmisher is gone in the next level. And I'm going to miss it because it's been one of my favorite builds this entire season. So I get the cannon, but lacking a third skirmisher, I'm not ready to put it out. I level up simply in an attempt to kind of stem the bleeding that I know is coming. I don't have great synergies, I don't have a silver character, I don't have a solid item, so I know I'm likely to lose at this point. And unfortunately, I lose a little bit more than I wanted to. I grabbed the recursive bow because that's going to be an absolutely necessary item for a skirmisher build, but I'm actually not set on it at this point because I'm not getting skirmisher love yet. To do this build, I'd really like to see 3 skirmishers fairly early, and luckily, here's Trundle. And while I'm putting him in and getting the board set, let me tell you a little bit about what this channel is, in case you're wondering. It's called Mission4Tution, and the entire channel is dedicated towards trying to get my kid through middle school and high school because he needs to go to a special school. There are lots of videos on the channel about it. You can look at them there. I build the rapid fire cannon and put that on Udyr, and now I'm hoping that this will at least allow me to get on a win streak, or at worst stop losing so much. And luckily, mission accomplished. I got that going forward. I go, of course, straight for the recursive bow because that's going to be necessary to make the Runaan's Hurricane or the Untamed Hurricane. Another thing that's going away, shadow items. So we grab our Negatron Cloak, the recursive bow, make the Runaan's Hurricane, and now this is starting to look good. We pull a synergy together just to kind of shore up the team and make it stronger, leveling up and bringing out a second brawler to give Nunu a little bit of extra health. This is again to keep our win streak going so that we can get more and more gold. We're not going to be rolling for a while, we're just going to be leveling up to 6 when we get to 3-2. So until then, the only thing we're going to be taking from the board is going to be if they offer us a skirmisher or something that will absolutely fit into our build. Off the NPC round, we get a BF sword. That's the third component we'll need, which is either the Risk Taker or the Bloodthirster. So we need one more Negatron Cloak to complete our Jax items, and we're using Udyr as the item holder. We've done this before, you know how this works, and it's the last time we're going to do it this year. There it is, the Shadow Negatron Cloak to make our final Risk Thirster for the season. And since we're on stage 3-2, it's time to level up and then roll down a little bit and make the team stronger. See what synergies we can put together. Since we're level 6, we're hoping to get to 6 skirmishers, but it's not necessary. At this point, we just 2-star silver the Trundle, and we're good to go. We keep the 2 brawlers out there so that Nunu's health is buffed, making our front line a little bit stronger and allowing for Udyr to get more time to build up damage with the skirmisher buff. This is also the point in the video where I ask you to throw a like, maybe subscribe to help the channel grow as we race through this battle against someone who I think went AFK because they have an item sitting out there. A key item for Pantheon is Redemption, which requires a Giant's Belt, which we have, and the Tier, which we just picked up. So as soon as we get back, we're going to have to sell the Trundle. Luckily, there's a Lee Sin just sitting there waiting for us to pick up, and we can start thinking about getting to the 6th skirmisher once we can get a Nidalee. If I had my 6 skirmishers at this point in the game, I likely would have been better prepared for this very well itemized Coven team that's able to stun them and just hold them in place. We silver up the Pantheon, but I'm choosing not to roll down or level up right now as I'm really waiting for Nidalee so that I can create the 6th skirmisher. Putting in a 5th skirmisher right now doesn't feel like it would help because it would take away the brawler buff and reduce the strength of our front line. That front line is allowing us to last longer, and since skirmishers build up attack damage with every second that passes, that's what helps us get through this Lux. It's stage 4-1 and time to get serious. We need to go up to 7. We needed to find that 6th skirmisher to make this build really work. At that point, we can take out the Brawler because we'd be losing the Brawler buff anyway, and just put in an additional Trundle, who will additionally gain attack damage per second, but he's basically just fodder for the rest of the team. Notice how Pantheon being right next to Udyr is helping him to keep healed as long as he remains up, and Pantheon remains up a long time in the game. That gives Udyr the ability to get through what would otherwise seem almost impossible, which is a Draven and a Victor. I'm really torn here between the Dawnbringer and the Nightbringer, because Dawnbringer would help with Nidalee, while Nightbringer would help with Lee Sin. I ultimately decide on the Nightbringer and to put it on Pantheon. The choice to go on Pantheon was easy since he's the one with the redemption and I want him to stay up the longest. I chose the Nightbringer because I already had a second Lee Sin on the bench, and so I figured that was my best chance of getting a silver, although in reality, if I didn't get a silver Nidalee, I was done. That team of Rangers was a little too much to handle at that point, but there is my silver Lee Sin, and that reinforces that, okay, you did the right thing grabbing the Nightbringer buff. Here's that Coven team from earlier that absolutely decimated us the first time, but now we have the 6th Skirmisher, we have the additional buff on Pantheon, and as you can see, that makes all the difference in getting through pretty easily. This is a case where I'm going for character over item on the carousel because I know I have a Chain Vest and a Tier sitting on my board, and that makes a Frozen Heart, and Diana is incredibly strong with a Frozen Heart. We can grab a Kha'Zix off the bench, use him to make the Frozen Heart, put Diana out, and this gives us our 3rd Dragonslayer, which means we're going into Dragonslayer, so we're going to be looking for more going forward. But Diana in the back is slowing everyone down and becomes incredibly disruptive with her ult, which gives the rest of the team more time to build up attack damage. Absolutely key with Skirmishers. We hit the jackpot. Yes, have to say it every time. Well, it's the last time because this is the last Skirmisher build of the year. Because they're taking it away. Did I mention that? I'm sad. But we put the items onto Jax because he's going to be the carry going forward. Pick up a couple of extra Pantheons because maybe we can turn it into something special. Again, see how disruptive Diana can be from the back row. And even as a bronze, Jax becomes incredibly strong with that itemization. With a needlessly large rod and a lot of gold from the NPC round, I decide to take this up to 8. And see what I can roll to. However, at this point, I'm still holding back to try to gain as much interest as possible. And since my health is high, there's no immediate need for me to roll down. If I start losing health, I'll make a different decision. However, while it's high, you want to earn as much interest as possible. Getting a second redemption on Pantheon is an easy choice here, just giving him more healing, plus the fact that we're only 2 Pantheons away from gold. With that last loss and the win streak broken, I decided to roll down and try to get myself to a Silver Jax and see what I could get. Since we haven't been able to get more Nidalees, the Viego over the Nidalee is an easy choice as it will trigger the Assassin buff that will help both Diana and Viego. Unfortunately, Skirmishers are not a good match against Redeem because they have to get in on Vel'Koz, and even though Pantheon can keep things up for a while, it's not enough to avoid a Vel'Koz and a Kayle just beating them down. So we roll down completely to try to get everything we can. We're 2 Pantheons away from a gold Pantheon. We have the potential to pick up a Rel, and we also are going to be thinking about picking up that Mordekaiser to get the Dragonslayer buff, which will greatly increase the power of our team. Seeing a Legionnaire emblem on this board kind of cemented it, since Mord is both a Dragonslayer and Legionnaire. This will give us the ability to create a second Legionnaire to trigger that buff. With the strongest competition on this board coming from magic damage, it's time to say goodbye to Rel and create a second Legionnaire so that we can have 4 Dragonslayers and the Legionnaire buff. We're going to roll and see if we can find that gold Pantheon who can keep our team healed for as long as possible. As you can see, again, this is a magic-based team we're against. Notice how disruptive Diana's ult is. Right there as she takes everything out. But key is Pantheon staying next to Jax and keeping him healed as that Teemo throws out mushrooms, but not long enough before Viego gets a hold of him and makes him our own. This is the one team that remains with physical damage. However, luckily, Pantheon is strong enough in staying with the team to keep everyone healed. Jax just picks up strength as the match goes on, and even a well-itemed and well-positioned Draven isn't enough to completely get through the amount of healing and strength that Pantheon's turning out. Now, there's a lot of other items I'd rather have than an additional Frozen Heart. However, it absolutely can work because we can put it on Viego and then have 2 Frozen Hearts in different parts of the backline to slow an entire team down. Here we are against a team with 2 Silver Dravens in the back. Luckily, Diana jumps to the one with all the items, which slows the attack, and then the ult will completely displace him. This gives time for my team to power up and then overpower everything they've got. With 3 players left on the board, positioning is absolutely key, so we check in and try to guess who we're going against. It's magic-based teams that are stacked to the left, so we want to pull everything over to the left and make sure we get in as fast as possible, not giving them too much of a chance. This is that same Draven team as before, where they've repositioned a little bit. However, I'm not as concerned about them now, since we feel like we found the formula to get through. Pantheon is dealing out the healing and also increasing his strength due to it being 6 Skirmishers, and we're pretty easily able to dispense with them. Now we're finally hopefully going to go against the Magic team that we prepared for before, lock for the Viego, and get set to go. The goal is for Diana and Viego to jump into the back and be as disruptive as possible while our frontline Skirmishers build up their strength. Pantheon hopefully keeping everyone alive with 2 redemptions, and the fact that he's gold and has the Nightbringer shield should keep him up. As you can see, it works absolutely beautifully as the healing helps keeps Jax alive, he builds up strength, we win the match, and luckily we were also ghost playing against the other player and win overall. Thank you so much for watching, hope you have an absolutely awesome day and look forward to the next season.